Politics now, and Azimio Umoja Coalition and the Kenya Kwanza Alliance have maintained a hardline stance over the audit of the 2022 presidential elections. In their presentations to the National Dialogue Committee, Azimio illustrated disparities in different result forms, while Kenya Kwanza insisted that the 2022 election standoff ought to be forgotten as it is a matter concluded by the Supreme Court. Melita Oletenges reports.
Yeah, 5 to 6%.
The last day of oral submissions to the National Dialogue Committee saw a clash between the ruling coalition and the opposition, none giving in to the other on the audit of the 2022 elections.
It's only upon audit that you can actually reconstitute and restructure the IEBC, because then you know what it is that you're fixing, what went wrong, and therefore what are you fixing.
That is water down the bridge. We are a country that upholds the rule of law, and we are all aware that the judiciary had already pronounced itself on that matter. The highest level of the judiciary, that is the Supreme Court.
Azimio claims that through their analysis of different forms, they have noticed disparities in figures and number of votes for the then presidential candidates. While the question of fidelity to political parties continue to haunt leaders expelled from Azimio Umoja Coalition, Azimio argues that the office of the Registrar of Political Parties is not exercising its full mandate, since some leaders expelled from the coalition are still holding positions in Parliament.
It is therefore a recommendation that the office of the Registrar ought to be made independent, and that it ought to be insulated from the interferences that has come from the current regime.
The National Council of Churches of Kenya submitted that more time should be allowed for the national dialogue process to collect more views from Kenyans, while the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission wants leaders with corruption cases to be locked out of elective seats.
They are ready for responsibility, but they are not ready for accountability. And we say that responsibility minus accountability is equal to corruption. So, what the EACC is proposing is that EACC proposes legislative amendments to hold the governors accountable for corruption within all counties at the same time that they take oath of office. No grace period for impunity.
Following the conclusion of the oral submissions, the National Dialogue Committee will now begin a new chapter, that of deliberating on the weighty issues in order to come up with the final report to be submitted before Parliament. Melita Oletenges, NTV.